Namaskar, I'm Neil, and I welcome all of you to the third video in our Sherlocking CSAT 2021 analysis series. For people who are new to this video, I would encourage you to go have a look at the first two videos of the series. I will put the link on the top right, and you can have a look. Before we begin the discussion of the last 11 questions, let me just remind all the viewers of the principles that we have used until now to make solving comprehension easy for all of us. My strategy is fairly simple. It is pivoted around the fact that common sense works like a charm. So never go away from the dictums of common sense. Why? Because even though it's a comprehension passage and we are reading through the work of an author, the author is not likely to tread away from the dictums of common sense himself in the first place. Number two, this exam is for the selection of bureaucrats who are going to serve the state. So in all likelihood, be rest assured, the passages would not be unreasonably critical of the working of the state. So these two principles, knowing that common sense works like a charm, and number two, the passages would not be unreasonably critical of the state. They help you pick a preferred option in the first bit, and they help you eliminate options while you're reading through the options. My methodology that I have spoken about extensively in the past, I would reiterate it, is fairly simple. I would, before reading through the comprehension, I would pick a preferred option. After picking up a preferred option, based on the dictums of common sense, I would then read through the passage. And then finally, based on the conjunction of these two steps, I would pick the option that I'm going to mark in the OMR. So we have seen these principles at work in the past two videos, wherein we have discussed the first 16 questions. In this video, we're going to see them work for the last set of 11 questions. Let's see how effective these dictums are. So let's start with question number 41. This is the question number 17 for passage. We are referring to set A for CSAT 2021. This is downloadable from UPSC's official site. So let's read through the options first, as usual. Options are: which one of the following statements best reflects the central idea of the passage? Okay. Number one, the conceptions of what is right or wrong exist due to the formation of the state. So I don't see any extremist thing being spoken about. I don't see a judgmental point being thrown at, at us, the aspirants. And it is soft. So I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it yet. So for now, this is going to be my preferred option. Let's look at option number B. Option number B says, unless a ruling authority decides as to what is right or wrong, no man would be morally right. I mean, this is an oft-repeated theme. Unless a ruling authority, it's a mandate, no man has an underlying extremist connotation. Could be the answer. Maybe after reading through the passage, we could realize that B is more likely to be the right answer, but while picking the preferred option, B doesn't sound like it. Option number C, man is inherently immoral and selfish in a natural state. It's a very judgmental statement, In all likelihood, not going to be correct. Option number D says, the idea of what is right or wrong is necessary for the survival of human species. Necessary, it's a mandate. Again, could be the correct answer. Maybe after reading through the passage, we can come to this understanding that D is most closely related to the central idea. But while we are picking the preferred option, I'm not going to pick it. So out of all these four options, A, after a preliminary survey, sounds like the most reasonable option to me. But I'm not going to mark the answer in the OMR yet. I'm going to now skim through the passage. Pause the video. Within 30 seconds, within 40 seconds, read through the passage, and you would realize that the formation of state is a theme which is being spoken about right from the first line. And in addition to which, option number B, C, D have no callbacks from the given passage. So by reconciling both common sense and a quick skim through of the passage, we arrive at option A, which again happens to be the correct answer. Right, let's go to the next question. Question number 42. Question number 42 says, which of the following statements best reflect the rational, plausible, and practical implications that can be derived from the passage? Okay, correct answer. Very important. So too much globalization is not in the best interests of any country. Very judgmental statements, too much globalization, any country. Could be the right answer, but as far as picking a preferred option is concerned, I'm not going to pick it. Let's say, if I eliminate one, I arrive at C, 2, 3, 5. Let's see, let's read through the rest of the options first too. Option number 2 says, modern technologies are increasingly blurring the economic borders. Commonsensically is correct, logically is correct, and it's a soft statement. I don't see an extremist connotation being spoken about in option number 2, in statement number 2. So I can't eliminate 2 at this point in time. 3 says innovation and state and capital have impinged on the domain of the state. Again, could we write impinged is a soft word. It doesn't say they have outrightly negated the domain of the state. 4 says public policy of every country should focus on developing its own supply chain. You could see the pattern repeating over and over again. Again, in option statement number 4, it has extremist connotations to it. Public policy of every country should focus on developing its own supply chain. Again, too extremist a statement at this point in time. So if I eliminate 4, coincidentally, I arrive at the same preferred option I arrived at when I eliminated 1. So I think our dictums are leading to reconciliation towards the same option. 5 says geopolitics will have to reconcile to many ambiguities and uncertainties. Again, a generic soft statement sounds correct. So my preferred option before reading through the passage is going to be C. Now I will read through the passage. Read through the passage, pause the video, and go to the passage in 50 to 60 seconds. Come back and you will see that nowhere in the passage does the author talk about 1. Author doesn't say that too much globalization is not in the best interests, and author nowhere says that public policy of every country should focus on developing. So both by dictums of common sense and by going through the passage very quickly once, you arrive at the same answer, which is option number C. Now you're seeing it at work. We have seen it at work for the last 18 questions now. And I am certain that it's going to work for the last 9 questions too. Let's come to question number 43. Question number 43 says, which one of the following statements best reflects the most logical, rational, and practical suggestion implied by the passage given above? Lending by the banks should be closely monitored and regulated by the central government. Should be closely. I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it yet. I'm going to hold. Option number B says interest rates should be kept low so as to induce banks to lend more, promote credit, and thereby boost economic activity. Again, logically is correct. Sounds like a reasonable statement until now, but I don't have the necessary resolution yet to pick one out of A and B. So I'm going to hold. Option number C, merger of many banks into a few large banks alone is the long-term solution to make them viable and prevent their bad performance. Alone. Merger of many banks into a few large banks alone. This has an extremist connotation. So in all likelihood, I can say that for certain that C is not going to be the right answer. D says Indian banking system requires structural reforms as a long-term solution for bad loan problems. Now I see this pattern emerging in my analysis quite a few times. And this has come to my notice even during the analysis of GS paper, the prelims GS1 paper. That similar sounding options, if you find similar sounding options, one of these are bound to be the correct answer. For instance, C speaks about merger of banks being the only long-term solution to make them viable. D also is talking about improving the performance of banking system, but it gives a more holistic option. It says Indian banking system requires structural reforms as a long-term solution for bad loans problem. So using both those heuristics, even though I can't negate A or B yet, but C and D are very closely sounding options. C for sure is not the answer because it has an extremist connotation. So before I read the comprehension, D is going to be my preferred option. Let's look at the passage, pause the video, go through the passage within 50 seconds, and you would come to the same realization that in the first line itself speaks about the fact that resolution should help bring NPS under control. Towards the final few lines, it says, unless there are systemic reforms that address the problem of unsustainable lending future, stress the banking. So it is talking about systemic reforms, structural reforms as a long-term solution for bad loan problems, right? So I would reiterate, these heuristics help us pick a preferred option first, and the confirmation lies with the skimming through of the passage. So you can't skip any of these two steps to arrive at the right answer. Right? I think yes, I marked D. D is indeed the correct option as given in UPSC's official key. Let's look at the next question. Question number 44. Question 44 says, which of the following statements best reflects the corollary to the passage given? Okay. The central bank cannot work independently of the government sounds like an extremist statement to me. I'm going to hold. B says government should regulate financial markets and institutions closely. Should regulate closely. Again, I mean, logically sounds correct, but it is talking about a mandate. More often than not, mandates never lead to the right answer. So I'm not too convinced with option B either. Option C says market economy is not compatible with the socialist policies of the government. Again, this is a statement with a negative outlook. I mean, logically, again, C is not incorrect. But usually, statements with negative outlook are less likely to be correct. So while I'm picking a preferred option, I would prefer C. Finally, I come to option number D. Option number D says financial sector reforms are required for enhancing the economic welfare of the people. Again, a positive statement, holistic statement, and I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it. So at this point in time, D is my preferred option. Right? After picking D as my preferred option, I quickly skim through the passage. You're not going to need more than 15 seconds to read through this. This is such a small passage. Pause the video, read through the passage. And this is where the beauty of skimming through the passage, this is where the beauty lies in skimming through the passage. Once you skim through, you will realize that it says the objective of macroeconomic policy is to enhance the economic welfare, and any one wing of such macro policy cannot independently work without active support of another. So even though one had an extremist connotation, had a mandate which is more likely to be incorrect, after skimming through the passage, we see the same line being written here, cannot independently work, and the same theme is being spoken about in state number A. So even though my preferred option in this case was option number D, a skim through made me realize that I need to change my option. And my preferred option was D, but the answer I mark in the OMR is A, because the skim through makes it unambiguously clear to me that option A has a direct correlation to the final line of the passage. That is why I keep repeating. You can't pick an option without skimming through the passage, because of course 8 out of 10 times you will arrive at the right answer, but you don't want to run the risk of getting too many answers incorrect, because comprehension reading doesn't take a lot of time, right? So that is about the first 4 questions. Let's go to the next set of questions. Let's go to question number 51. Question number 51, what does it say? So it says, which of the following statements best reflects the central idea of the passage? Okay, let's see. It says, efficacy of universities would be better in online tuition as compared to conventional method. This won't be my preferred option because it's a comparative statement. As we have seen in the past, comparative statements are more likely to be incorrect. So I won't pick A as my preferred option. B says, availability of higher education can be made easier and cheaper without diluting the content. Can, again, a soft statement, a generic statement. So I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it yet. It is not talking about comparison. It is not talking about an extremist connotation yet. So I'm going to hold, and this is what I'll choose as my preferred option for now. Let's look at option number C. Option number C says we need not invest much in infra related to higher education and yet develop better human and social capital. This goes against the dictums of common sense and logic, because we know that we need more infra to develop any sector. So could be the correct answer after reading through the passage, but for now, logically, this is incoherent to me at this point in time. I'll go to option number D now. Option number D says private sector institutions in higher education as well as coaching institutes can take advantage of this opportunity and thrive well. Again, it's a generic soft statement. I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it yet, but B sounds more holistic to me compared to D for now, because C is speaking about private sector and speaking about coaching institutes, while B is speaking about higher education in general. So B is more holistic for now. I'll pick B as my preferred option before, going through, before marking the option in the OMR. So passage number 1 says the best. So pause the video, go to the passage within the next 30 seconds, within 40 seconds, and you would realize that the final 2 lines say that they're encouraging colleges over the world to integrate and picking the pieces that are appropriate for their needs and building a package around them. And so they are related to the fact that availability of higher education can be made easier and cheaper without diluting the content. And you would not find one-to-one correlation with either statement number A, statement number C, or statement number D, right? So our 2 different ways, for instance, number 1, the choice of a preferred option and reading through the passage reconciles and makes us arrive at the same answer, which is option number B, which is also indeed the correct answer in this question, right? Let's come to question number 52. Question number 52 says, which among the following is the most logical and rational inference? Okay. A, our CTs need to have well-defined admin setup with sufficient autonomy. Makes sense. Positive statement, holistic statement, logically also correct. A is going to be my preferred option until now. B says ever increasing population densities is a hindrance in our efforts to achieve sustainable development. I mean, even though the statement is logically correct, it has a negative outlook. So statements with negative outlook are not likely to be correct. So A is still going to be my preferred option until now. Option number C says to maintain and develop our cities, we need to adopt sustainability related interventions. Now see, option number C has a positive outlook, and option number B and C are speaking about roughly the same theme, which is sustainable development or sustainability. So using the same dictum that we've used in the past, that if there are 2 similar sounding options, the answer is more likely to be between the 2. And since B has a negative outlook, C has a positive outlook, for now my preferred option is now going to be C instead of A. B says PPP mode of development is the viable long-term solution for infra and sustainability problems. Again, logically correct. I don't have a logical or strong enough reason to negate it yet, but my preferred option would still remain as C. Why? B and C are similar sounding options. If there are 2 similar sounding options, 2 options which is talking about the same theme, answer is more likely to be between the 2. And B has a negative outlook, C has a positive outlook. In such situations, the statement with a positive outlook is more likely to be correct. So preferred option is C. Now pause the video, read through the passage, and you would realize a lack of keyword association. What do I mean by that? Nowhere in the passage would you see the theme of admin setup being spoken about or PPP being spoken about. So our understanding was correct. A definitely is not the right answer. D definitely is not the right answer. And C aligns closely to the theme of the passage. You read through it again, you realize that it is most closely related to option number C. So you see, again, you could see our dictums at work. The dictums make us choose a preferred option first. Then we skim through the passage, and more often than not, the solution we arrive at using these two different ways reconciles. And what's the next question we need to address? Next question is question number 61. Question number 61. Question number 61 says, with reference to the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. Okay. Which of the above are valid? Okay. Modern democracies rely on market forces to enable them to be welfare states. I don't think so. I mean, logically, it is incoherent. Market and welfare, logically, from the basic knowledge of economics, are antithetical. So one is not logically coherent. Two says market. So if I eliminate one, my preferred option is going to be between B and C. Two says markets ensure sufficient economic growth necessary for democracies to be effective. Again, I mean, logically is incoherent. Markets ensure, usually governments ensure sufficient economic growth for the democracy, and markets don't have one-to-one a strong correlation between the two. So logically incoherent, at least in my eyes, until now. I'm open to changing my mind once I read the passage, but my preliminary understanding tells me that the most preferred option in this case is more likely to be B. I'll still read through three. Three says government programs are needed for those left behind in economy. Unambiguously correct. There is no doubt that option number 3 is correct. And anyway, 3 is there in all the 4 options. So my preferred option before reading through the passage is option number B. Let's read through the passage now. Can a democracy, so pause the video, read through the passage in the next 45 to 50 seconds, right? And you would realize that it doesn't speak about the fact that modern democracies rely on market forces. It nowhere in the passage talks about how markets ensure sufficient economic growth necessary. So again, the preferred option that we picked in this case, which was option number B, turns out to be correct. Right. We're moving in the last lap of our discussion. We're moving, I think there's just 3-4 more questions to go. Let's come to question number 62. Question number 62 says, which of the following statements best reflects the central idea of the passage given above? School curriculum is not compatible with the expectation of children and parents. Logically is correct, but this statement has a negative outlook. So this is not going to be my preferred option. B says emphasis on academic achievements does give time for development of personality and skills. Logically incoherent. We know that extracurricular and CADs are usually seen as antithetical. So it says emphasis on acads does give time for development of personality. Logically incoherent. So even B is not going to be my preferred option. C says preparing the children to be better citizens should be the responsibility of the education system. Yeah, logically coherent. I don't have a strong enough reason to negate it. So this is going to be my preferred option until now. Let's come to statement number D, option number D. Option says to be a better citizen, the present world order demands societal and life coping skills in addition to academic content. So you see, after a certain point in time, the entire game becomes repetitive. C and D have the same theme being spoken about, which is, to be a better citizen, to be a better citizen. So our dictum tells us that if there are two similar sounding options, the answer is more likely to be between those two. And D is more holistic. D is more holistic than C. So at this point in time, my preferred option now is D. But as usual, even in the cost of sounding redundant, I'm not going to mark the answer until now. I'm now going to read the passage very quickly to confirm if what option I have arrived at in the first place is indeed the correct answer according to the given passage. So pause the video, read through the passage in 30 to 40 seconds. Very quickly do that, and you would realize that overall, they are talking about the school education. Nowhere do they talk about the fact that it is not compatible. Nowhere do they talk that emphasis does give time. They do talk about the fact that we need better citizens, and it is most closely related to option number D. So common sense and reading through the passage reconciles enables us to arrive at the same answer, which is option number D. Again, happens to be the correct answer. Final 3 questions to go. Come to question number 71. 71 says, which of the following statements best sums up the passage given above? Okay. A, wealth generation is the primary motive of any, again, some people might say it's logical, could be logical, but has an extremist connotation. So won't be my preferred option for now. B says space, whether space in solar system or interstellar space will govern our future economy. It is logically incoherent to me because I can't possibly think of a reason why interstellar space will govern our future economy. I mean, it is too far-fetched an idea for now. So I won't choose it as my preferred option. Option number C says human beings are motivated to explore new frontiers principally by economic consideration. Now see, A and C are very closely aligned, but A has an extremist connotation and C, on the other hand, has a soft, reasonable connotation associated with it. So yes, of course, human beings are motivated to explore new frontiers, principally by economic considerations, not solely by economic considerations. For now, C is going to be my preferred option. I'll come to final option. Option number D says wealth generation is based on risk-taking behavior of some men. Logically coherent, not bad, but C is still more holistic as compared to D, right? So for now, my preferred option is C. After reading through all the 4 options, now pause the video, go through the given passage within 30 seconds, and you would realize that the passage doesn't say that it is the primary motive. The passage says, historically, the driver for opening frontiers has always been the search for resources. Science and curiosity are weaker drivers. So it doesn't say that economy is the sole driver. It says it has been the major driver, and research, science, curiosity are weaker drivers. So one can easily be eliminated after reading the passage. B can be eliminated. C is most reasonable. Let's come to the final 2 questions. Those 2 questions can be solved from the same passage, which is really, really short. Let's finish them really quickly. Right. Question number 72 says the idea which the first part of the passage mentions is agreement about telling lies, disagreement about telling lies, disagreement about telling the truth. This is by far the most confusing question, the most difficult question. So I can't pick a preferred option until now. Okay. I read through the passage, pause the video, read through the passage. And if you're anything like me, you are more likely to get confused than, pick a preferred option after reading through the comprehension also. So after reading through the passage, I get more confused as to what should be the right answer. So for people who don't want to apply a lot of brains, skip this question. This question is not worth the mental agony you'd have to undergo. Skip this question. Skip question number 72. The question is, did I skip this question in the examination hall? No. I have a high risk appetite and I attempt all questions in comprehension. So I solve this question using a different tangential obscure logic. I would share that obscure logic. You are open to accept it. You can accept it, you can negate it based on your own understanding. But I would prefer that you skip it in the first place. If you want to know how I solved it, I'm open to talking about my approach. My approach was based on what I like to call the examiner's constraint. Making objective type questions are really difficult because I made them. I know how difficult it is to make objective questions. Why? Because when you're the examiner, when you're setting the question, You just have the theme, you just have the question, and you just have the right answer in front of you. Okay? That means you have to artificially make 3 incorrect options. It's a really difficult task, just so you know, to make 3 incorrect options in a way that you don't outrightly give away the correct answer. So then examiner makes those 3 incorrect options based on the correct answer, so that the examiner makes very small slight tweaks to the correct answer, so that all the 4 options in the end sound similar. And the answer is then, one of those similar looking options, which also lies at the edifice of why, if you have 2 similar sounding options, one of those is going to be correct. So let's look at these 4 options. I see 3 of these talk about disagreement. 1 talks about agreement. So logically, I eliminate this. A is the odd one out. This is less likely to be the correct answer. Okay. Now I look at B, C, D. C and D talk about truth. B speaks about lies. So now I'm going to eliminate B. C and D both speak about disagreement about telling the truth, but D is more holistic, D is more verbose. So using this very obscure logic, by stepping into the shoes of the examiner, by knowing that it is very difficult to make 3 incorrect options, I arrive at D. Why did I mark D? Because I have a very high risk appetite. I know I'm not going to fail CSAT because I attempt all the questions, my hit rate is really high, and I want to score as high as I possibly could. For people who don't want to put so much brains into comprehension, skip a question like this. For people who wanted to know my logic, wanted to know my approach, here it is. Feel free to make of it what you want to make of it. But these dictums work like a charm on the ground. That is the reality you can't deny. Let's look at final question of the day. Final question of the day, question 73. Question number 73 says, which of the following habits is found more often in good people? A says mixing of true and false. Okay, could be. B says intentional mixing up of truth with the false. A and B are similar sounding. B is more holistic. B has more resolution to it. So for now, B is going to be my preferred option. C says falsification of facts. Of course, I mean, good people don't falsify facts. So incoherent, C is logically incoherent. And good people also don't believe in complete concealment of truth. So D also is not going to be my preferred option. So my preferred option at this point in time is going to be B. Before marking, I'm going to again quickly read through it. I believe in the first few lines, you would find that it says that telling deliberate lies is wrong and more or less deliberate. Their use of words contains some measure of falsehood, more or less deliberate. So deliberate is close to intentional. And that is why even after I have skimmed through the passage, I retain the option that I chose in the first place, which is option number B, again turns out to be the right answer. Right? And that leads us to the end of discussion. Right? So we have discussed all 27 questions of CSAT 2021 comprehension. If you go through the videos again, you would find that, out of those 27, at least 21, 22 were very, very easy. Very easy, with that you could hit with 100% or let's say 90% hit rate. Why are people afraid of comprehension? I don't know. This was my initiative to ensure that, that fear goes away with time. Now I'm giving you an assignment. I believe that if these videos have helped you, you should go through that assignment. The assignment is fairly simple. Go through CSAT 2020 paper, or go through CSAT 2019 paper and apply the same dictums and see what your hit rate is. I can assure you, and come back to me in the comment section after going through this exercise. I have no doubt that you would have an hit rate in the excess of 85%. That is, if you attempt those 27 questions and in CSAT, I have no doubt that you will get more than 22 correct. Go through those papers, come back to me, and we'll move forward from there on. I'm going to continue with the series. I'm going to move on to Quant now, and that is what the agenda of the next few videos is going to be. That is it from my side. If you want to see more of my work, go to the description box. I have given the link to this Telegram channel, this Telegram group. that I run. I also run an answer writing group. Feel free to engage in the group. If you have any questions, if you have any counter arguments based on what we have discussed until now, feel free to engage in the comment section. Feel free to provide your feedback. Feel free to make your opinion heard. And I think on that note, I'm going to take a leave. Thanks a lot for taking out time to watch the video. I'm certain it has added value to your preparation, and I'm going to see you soon. Take care. Bye.